saying, bro? I advise you, bro, go hear your dad's side of the story. I'm not saying he couldn't be fucked up. I'm not saying he couldn't have left you for no reason. I'm not saying that he couldn't have been a bad person. He couldn't have made a mistake, none of that. But I advise you just go hear his side of the story and decide from there. Cause I ain't gonna lie, I hear this happen so often, and like it kind of fucked me up every time I'm hearing it, cause it's like it's fucked up. But it'll be a dude he want to be in his kid life, like he want to be an active father. And you got a baby mom for whatever reason. Maybe she petty about the new girl, trying to teach him a lesson, trying to use it as an opportunity to get more money. Or she could just be a bad person and she kind of used the kid as leverage against the dude, trying to control him, and he gotta say and do everything she want, or she gonna take the kid away from him. And I get what y'all saying. Go to court, go to court, go to court. Go look at the percentages on that. And a lot of dudes, it's not even that they don't want to pay child support. They just don't want to give her the money. They don't mind spending a bag on their kids. They just don't want to give you the money. All I'm saying, it's a lot of dudes out there. If you was to go sit down, and I'm talking about have a good conversation with your pops, bro, you wouldn't even be mad at bro no more.
Yikes. Wow. MC, you want to take a stab at this?
Yeah, so when I first heard this video, so this is an accountability thing, right? You essentially you have a kid that's suffering because the mother and the father don't have a functional, healthy relationship. And when I say relationship, they don't even have to be together, but they should at least be cordial when it comes to matters of the children, right? But it starts here at the root of it, and I'll go back to the Kevin Samuels theory. Men control access to relationships and marriage. Women control access to sex and intimacy. You can't have a child without having sex/intimacy. So this woman consented to let you enter her, and somehow y'all ended up with this baby, right? I'm not letting the men off the hook. I'm just starting with the women because I know for a fact, and TRU and I both know men who are they're good men. They provide to the greatest of their extent. They pay child support and they continue to be extorted and they leverage the system that's teamed up with them to form this great big superpower to kind of beat these men into submission, for lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm.
So that's obviously something that's going to be a problem for a lot of people, right? And then on the men's side, I talk about this all the time to the point where you're probably sick of hearing this, but man, we got to be more responsible on who we spending our time with. And we got to vet these women out better. A lot of them are crazy and they don't deserve to be mothers if I'm being honest, but we make them mothers anyway. A lot of them don't deserve a man in their life, but y'all still give them time. So, there's some equal accountability here on both sides, but he's telling the truth at the end of the day. A lot of men are being extorted. Child support is supposed to be for deadbeats. It's not supposed to be a manipulation tool, and it shouldn't be applied to dads who are actually active all the time. But hey, what do I know?
Yeah, this has been going on, I want to say, since we were growing up, and it still goes on. Like, not one thing has changed. Men actually have more access to this type of information, these types of stories. And sometimes you gotta have to, jump out to, or you have to, go out on your own and look for the information. A lot of times, if people grow up with both their parents, they'll just never understand it, or it'll never come up in their algorithm. So, unfortunately for a lot of these men, trying to tell these young men to listen to your dad's side of the story, it's already damaged. It's possibly you can have a relationship down the road, but when things have been weaponized against you, such as like the state, as well as your visitation, as well as just trying to have a conversation with your kid about you're trying to be active in their life, it ain't going to matter, because if you do all those things, they can still resent you, still hate you, still um, you know, say like they're always going to choose mom in most cases. Most kids choose their mom anyways. So when it comes to like the dad, you're just kind of SOL. It's kind of almost like you're across the bear, because you didn't marry the mother. And this could be a divorce situation too. But most of the time, especially in our community, we end up having a high single parent rate, and people know this is a bad thing. People know this is you cannot be knocking up the women, but unfortunately, men still do. A small percentage of the men still do it. Small percentage of black men still do it. Most black men don't even have kids, And so you still have a small percentage of the men that end up setting like these terrible stories regarding like men being active in their kids' lives or men trying to be in their kids' lives. And we hear all these stories, but one time we hear a story where a mom is being held accountable, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 times, is when a judge was like, "You are actively getting in the way of the father seeing his kid. We're going to throw you in jail for 30 days." Like that's the only I've only seen it happen a couple times. So
You
it's
got
really
that
like a very
robot thing going on with your audio.
what's that? You good? You good? MC, you there? All right. This is this is what happens when you do it live. All right, MC freezing up here.
Yeah, that's ironic because we both doing that right now, but at least I can hear you. So you said a lot there, but one thing I do want to go back to, you mentioned that kid, hold on, hold on, check, check, check. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, we're good.
I'm talking right now. Can you hear me, TR? Okay, I just want to make sure. Sorry, y'all, we working through some audio issues. One thing you called out earlier is the majority of men don't have kids at all. So a lot of us are exempt from this conversation, and I'm exempt too because I'm married to my child's mother. But a lot of people are not exempt, and those are the ones that we're kind of talking about right now. And again, this is a situation where they're not the majority, but they have the loudest voices. And we have this stereotype on a well, it's not a stereotype because it's true. We have the highest rate of children born out of wedlock or without the mother and the father in the same house, even though statistically speaking, we've proven on previous episodes that black men are the most active fathers, but we don't live in the same house as our children generally, which means something. And that's to be considered. But again, I'm going to go back to the men and say, raise your standards on these women. Like typically speaking, if a woman has a behavior that's not in favor with you, she's going to give you the signals of it. You're going to see how she acts. It could be what she says. It could be the relationships that she's around. I saw a video of a guy earlier today. He met this lady and they were clicking very well. But when he met her family, he said, I can't do this because her family was all women who have never been married and who never had a functional relationship with a man. So he automatically, it kind of sucks. I see why he did it. He didn't give her the chance to prove anything, but in his mind, he was like, okay, you are coming from a family that's probably it's going to end up being bad for me because
Mhm.
none of you know how to deal with men. And I think that's ultimately what this comes back to, right? Like these men need to be more picky and more selective and set higher standards on these women that they're giving these seeds to. The women are going to be more emotional. They're going to take advantage of the resources that are available. So that comes with their, but we got to be wise enough to know a bad deal when we see it. And that's why I always say, I realize my marriage is great, but I realize in general marriage is not favorable for a lot of men. It's just a bad deal. And
Yeah.
so it's having children with somebody.
Yeah. I don't know what has to change, what men I think all the information is definitely out there. I think for a lot of men, I think they're kind of cooked because if you select the wrong woman, you're gonna get, the whole system is against you at that point. And so I feel like when it came to like people that were they want those parents, like when it comes to like just normal people, I'm not talking about like politicians. And honestly, I think most politicians are married with and they haven't been divorced and they have kids. So and there's some other cultures out there like the Indian culture. But when it comes to like just what men can do, what men need to do, I don't know. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything, honestly. Like I'm trying to give like a good answer here or, be, you know, feel good. But I don't think there is an answer for this other than men just kind of have to step away from the whole marriage scene until they get into a position where they can um well it doesn't impact them as much or they select someone who has much to lose as you do because a lot of times men are generally will make the most money, well not as much as today as it used to be like 20 years ago, Now women are a little par or on par with that. But I'm telling you, man, like men are just kind of like just kind of SOL because when your kids are involved with it, you've given up so much leverage there. And so those leverage that your kids, that's the one thing that they know that they can use against men. It is if it was such a problem, if this was like really a big deal, if men really wanted to change this. Matter of fact, if women wanted to change it too, because that impacts their sons' lives or their brothers' lives or their families. If women wanted to change this, they would definitely, men and women would advocate for changes in the divorce as well as the child custody laws. Nobody's really, no one's really doing that. I mean, there might be like a state here and there, but by the time the states catch up, there have been probably over hundreds of thousands of men that have already caught wreck through the system, and so that just destroys a generation right there. So you might as well throw the whole millennials out and I mean, the next generation coming up, I don't think they're really having kids like that anyways. So this probably actually might fix itself. It might just be the trash men that are just kind of messing up things and the trash men and women that are messing up things. But as far as marriage, I think it's not going to be having a complete family. I think that's just going to be something that's just not attainable for most people. And we're already seeing a decline in African American or Black American births in the United States. So there's something going on where there's not as many people having kids, as there's not as many people that are having as many kids as well too, because we're seeing people having kids in their late 30s and 40s. So most cases that's just one kid. So you're not going to be able to have multiple kids. And you probably won't be able to get a divorce, or you probably won't want a divorce because you just had your kid in your 40s. So you guys are going to definitely be together long. So that might take you all the way to your 60s and 70s, and hopefully somebody, I mean, in that case, somebody probably has already passed away or about to pass away. So I don't know. I think that's the only thing that can definitely change things, but that's terrible for America because then the birth rate declines. So there really isn't like a feel good answer here. This is just men just have to operate a little bit differently. And even if you try to be the best father in the world, and we've heard of stories of fathers just doing everything that they can, it doesn't matter, because until the laws change, you're always going to have to fight an uphill battle. We know people that have spent thousands of dollars trying to see their kids and it doesn't work, or the system or the courts say, hey, you didn't do enough. Sorry, you're not going to get your kid on full. We're not doing 50-50 custody. It just isn't there. And the, attorneys are incentivized to like be against you as well too.
Yeah, one thing I will disagree on. When it comes to the male female dynamic and the family dynamic, I think the market will eventually correct itself. I look at it as the same way as I do a market. It'll correct itself eventually. This is going to take a very long time, mind you. But I look at Texas, for example, and I just looked this up. Texas has an income cap on child support. It's like $9,200 a month. That's the maximum amount that you can be capped for your income for child support. And there are conversations in other red states where things like this are being considered, because ultimately, and even rolling up to Trump, he's trying to push narratives to get people to have more children. Well, you touched on a lot of the reasons why a lot of men are like, nah, I think I'm gonna sit this one out. Right. But I think some of these things will start to get addressed. You're going to see lower caps for child support, or lower income caps for child support. I think mandatory DNA testing, we talked about that in the previous episode, is going to be a requirement, and that's going to make people's heads explode, because I've seen studies that say there's just up to 1/3 of children have the wrong father on their birth certificate. So that's another conversation. So I do think there will be small corrections at some point, because if you're trying to pass legislation to encourage people to have more kids, you have to deal with these issues that we're talking about right here. And until you do, it's going to be a continuous cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely got to start pushing the child support cap, but I would love to see the child support cap put into tiers, because up to $9,000 is still a lot of money. You can still get, most men are not going to be, near that number, but they're still going to have to, it's a start in the right direction. But ultimately, like I said, it's just moving too slow. These things just move way too slow, and it's just not a very popular position. And you would think a lot of women would actually come out here. I mean, if you want to get the vote for men, I meant to put that on our list of topics, talk about how Democrats are trying to get men back into the back into their party. But maybe we'll cover that next week. But that's one way, is to figure out
We're
these child
definitely
support
covering that
laws.
next week.
Yeah, figure out these child support laws. Figure out these
Yeah.
how marriage laws need to be changed and have some marriage reform. And you can definitely get men back, because right now the system's 100% against. Well, I won't say 100%, because Texas, for example, and then we have the I guess it was South Carolina or North Carolina have those the cheating law, like if you cheat on your spouse,
Yeah, the
you found that
homebreaker
out.
laws.
Yeah, the homebreaker law. Yeah. So yeah, there's a conversation to be discussed there, though. But hopefully, something does change. But yeah, men, this is what's waiting for you. So if you pick wrong, this is what's waiting for your whole system. And a lot of these men, they don't even find this stuff out until they get a divorce. So that's why a lot of them are just, I don't need to worry about that. All right, dude. I mean, go 10 years. I don't know that many people that have gone 10 years in marriage. So go 10 years, and then we'll figure it, and then we'll see where you look alike. Otherwise, enjoy the divorce process.
Yeah, good luck, man. It's a cold game out here.
Cold game. All right.